Today would be looking into some more advanced problems of flowcharts. So this question, number 6 question, is asking us to write a flowchart that calculates the tax as follows. So the first thing is no tax if you get paid less than 10,000. So that means we need to get the payment information of the user. So that would be input from the user. Then for the second one, it tells us that 5% tax if you get paid less than 10 to 20,000. So that is basically a condition. So we have two conditions here, one for 10,000 and one for 10,000 to 20,000, and another one for salaries that are more than 20,000. Now we have two important conditions here. The first one is no tax if you are less than 18 years old. So we need to definitely know the age of the person. So that would be also input from the user. And next up, we need to know the position of the person in the company. So that would be his designation or position. That would also be an input from the user. So now we have to basically we understand that we need 3 decision boxes, and each of them would define the range of the tax, or if a person would get a tax on the first place or not. So let's start the flowchart. So we would have a starting oval, then we take inputs from the user. So the first input should be his age, input age. Then the second one should be his salary, or the amount that he gets paid. And always remember, inputs and outputs are always on parallelograms. And then finally we need to know his position in the company. That's another parallelogram. Next up, we need to find out if the person is eligible for tax or not. So if his age, so let's draw a decision box. If his age is less than 18, so if that is true, that means that person definitely doesn't need to pay any taxes. So we can just show our output that no tax. So let me write it in a better way. We need to show an output that output no tax. However, if that is false, that means that the person's age is of course definitely 18 or more. Then we need to check for other conditions. So in the other condition, we need to check if the person is the president of the company. So if he is the president, then of course he doesn't need to pay any taxes. So we put another parallelogram that says no taxes because we are showing an output. However, if that is false, what does that mean? So that means that the person is of course 18 years old or higher, and he's not the president of that company, so he's definitely given taxes. However, we need to calculate how much tax that person would give. So we need to find out his income range. So if salary is less than 10,000, so I'm gonna write 10k here. If that is true, he would be giving 5% tax, which is mentioned in the question. So we need to calculate how much 5% tax is. So tax equals to salary. So we're doing calculations or doing processes here. That's why we are using a rectangle. So salary into 5%, or you can write 5 by 100, whatever suits you. After that, when we found out that person's tax, we're just going to like show the output, how much tax is going to pay. However, if his tax is not if his salary is not less than 10,000, what does that mean? That he is of course 18 years old or more, he's not the president of the company, and his income is definitely not less than 10,000. So we need to put another condition where we are going to check if the person's salary is between 10,000 and 20,000. So 10k salary and 20,000. So this is our another decision tree, another decision. And if it's true, that means that person's income is definitely between 10 to 20, and we need to definitely do a calculation here and find out his taxes. So his taxes is, as per question says, is 10%. So salary into 10%, and then we're going to show his salary or show the output. So output tax. However, his income is not less than like in between 10,000 and 20,000, then that means that the person's income is of course more than 20,000, and he's 18 years or more, and he's not the president of the company. So in that case, however, I made a mistake here. I didn't see the question. So if his income is less than 10,000, then he wouldn't be paying any taxes on the first place. So we don't need to do all these calculations. We're just going to show the output that he doesn't need to pay any taxes. So the output would be no tax. And when his income is definitely in 10 to 20,000 range, then his salary, then his like taxes would be 5% of his salary. So 5%. And so if his income is not between 10 to 20,000, then definitely his income is above 20,000. So in that case, we are going to put taxes that put 10% taxes on his salary. So we're going to do a calculation again. So tax equals to salary into 10%. Then we're going to just show the output. So output tax, and that would be the end of the whole flowchart. So we have multiple things coming to our end here. So let's say if this is our end, and we need to have a joining point for all of these things. So we have one output here, we have another output coming from here, and we have another two more coming from this side. So let's join them, these two, and what we can do is we can join this line also. So this joins to this one, and this line comes here. So all of them come together in this yellow point here, and then all of them come to an end. So it's a huge flowchart. So I hope you guys did understand this, and we're going to look into a bit harder example. So the question number 9 here, in this question it tells us that write a flowchart that will calculate the value of y if the expression of y is as follows. So this is a sequence that we need to calculate the sum for. And in the sequence, what can we see? So we can see that we know where the value starts from. So it starts from 1 and goes up to n, right? However, in this case we don't know what n is, so we definitely need to take inputs from the user. Then we just need to do a loop that would go up to that n value starting from 1, and as we can see this, that for all the even numbers we would have a negative sign in front of it, so we need to have a condition to check if that number that we are dealing with right now is even or odd. If it's even, then we are going to subtract it from the sum, or if it's odd, then we're going to add it to the sum. So let's just dive into it and see how this flowchart would look like. So we have a start, then we need to take inputs from the user, so input n. Then after that we need to initialize a value, so let's say that would be I equals to 1. Then if I less than, you need to go up to n, so less or equal or n here. So this is a decision, and based on the decision we are going to go through the loop. So this is for the true case. So if that is true, then we are going to check if that corresponding number is odd or even. If I mod 2 equal 0. So what this line means is that I mod 2 is finding the remainder of the value that we are looking into. So for this case, 1 mod 2 is saying what is the remainder if I divide 1 with 2. So in this case the remainder would definitely be 1, and 1 is not equal to 0, right? If it's equal to 0, then that means it's an even number. If it's not, then that's an odd number. So for this case, the 4 mod 2, so I'm going to divide 2 with 4 by 4. Now we are going to divide 4 by 2, so this is a bit confusing. Anyways, so this we are going to divide 4 by 2, and the remainder would definitely be 0 because this is an even number. So this is the mod sign, and this is what the mod sign represents. So moving on, so if this is true, then we are going to add this to the sum. So one thing I forgot to mention in this case is that we need to have declared two variables. So I equals to 1, and another variable where we declare sum equals to 0. Then we do sum equals to sum plus I square. So as this is a calculation or a process that is going on, so that's we are going to put a parallelogram here. And what would we do for the false case or the not case? So if this condition isn't satisfied, that means that the number is odd, and for odd numbers we are definitely adding them, and for the even numbers we are subtracting them. So we need another calculation or a process where sum equals to sum, and this would be negative, I'm sorry about that. So sum equals to sum plus I square, because for the odd numbers we are definitely adding them, and for the negative numbers we are or for the even numbers we are subtracting them. So this is for the false case, and all of these cases they sum up to this point, or like a connector point. Then this connector point would increase the value of I, so I equals to I plus 1, and this I would go back to the condition again, and the whole process would go on. So this is basically our loop. So this whole portion is our loop, and let's try to do a tracing of the whole problem and see what's actually going on here. So initially our value of I is 1 and value of sum is 0. So is I less than n, and the value given by the user is, let's say, 4. Okay, so is I less than 4? Of course I is less than 4, right? So it goes down. Then we are going to mod the value of I. So I mod 2. So 1 mod 2 is not equal to 0, so that would be false and it would go in this portion, and sum equals to sum plus I square. So that is 0 plus 1 square, that would be 1. Then we go down and we increase the value of I. So I is now 2. We go up to here and go back to the condition again, and in the condition we're going to check for when I equals to 2. So 2 mod 2 is 0 because 2 is an even number. So we go from here to here, then we do sum equals to sum minus I square. So I is 2, so 1 minus 2 square, which is 4. So 1 minus 4, that would be 3, minus 3. And the whole process goes on until we reach or satisfy the condition I is not less or equal n. And we have to write the false statement for this one, for this condition. So this is the false statement, and for the false statement we just need to print the value of the whole sum. So that would be a parallelogram. So output sum, and then we just do a stop because we don't need to do any other processes anymore. So that's about it for all the loop examples of flowcharts. And here are the questions here. If you want to, you can try all of them at your free time. And hope you guys did like the video, and if you have any questions or suggestions on how can I improve the videos, then do let me know. Thank you.